Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope your week is going well. I hope your week is off to a good start. I hope that you, your family, your friends, you're all staying strong and you're all staying healthy right now. And you know, we kind of take that for granted. I know we say that every week, but we do kind of take it for granted. But wow, after this past weekend, I mean, think about what we saw this past weekend. Shannon Doherty, Jacoby Jones, Dr. Ruth Westheimer, Richard Simmons. Hey, it was a tough weekend for some, well, I mean, let's be honest, B-list celebrities. Oh, and also a presidential candidate's ear, apparently. And you know, looking back at who he lost this weekend, it's kind of crazy that both Richard Simmons and Dr. Ruth were kind of known for a similar love, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like a pony. I'm a pony. I'm a pony. Don't you feel like a pony? Don't you feel like a pony when you sweat? Oh yeah.
And you know, I hate to get all nostalgic during this time of year because it is that slow time of year, but remember when the ESPYs were actually worth watching? Yeah, I barely remember that, right? But remember, if you go back in time, maybe if you're old enough, Jim Valvano got up there and he spoke and we tuned in, we had tears in our eyes. And in the summer, you actually got a break from this, tough time of year. And we got to see the best highlights and the best plays from the entire year. Yeah, those days are over. Holy cow. The ESPYs are just a mess now. No one goes. No one watches. And the awards are now completely idiotic. You know, they used to do like the best athlete or the best play or the best team or whatever. This year, best male athlete went to Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Best quarterback? Sure. Best athlete? Dude literally has like a dad bod. Not sure Pat is the best athlete. ESPN also gave an ESPY for best play to Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson when he threw a pass against the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC Championship game. The pass got batted down. Then Lamar caught it and ran 12 yards and picked up a first down. That's it. That's the play of the year. We used to get Hail Marys and 90-foot buzzer beaters, but a 12-yard pass to himself this year won the award. That wasn't even Lamar's best play of the year. Gymnast Simone Biles won the comeback athlete of the year for, I don't know, something. I mean, the Olympics are coming later this summer, so maybe she will be the comeback athlete of the year, but has she done anything this past year? I have no idea. As usual, ESPN just does stupid things. Speaking of stupid, one news story that I do want to touch on this week, and I know there's some news stories coming out, but there's one that I want to hit, and that is this. College athletes whose efforts primarily benefit their schools apparently may qualify as employees deserving of pay under federal wage and hour laws. That is what a U.S. appeals court ruled last Thursday, and that is a huge setback to the NCAA. The court, in their latest challenge to the NCAA's long-held notion that college athletes were amateurs in college sports, they said a test should be developed to differentiate between students who play college sports for fun and students whose effort crosses the legal line into work. Here's what the U.S. Circuit Judge had to say. With professional athletes as the clearest indicators, playing sports can certainly constitute compensable work. Ultimately, the touchstone remains whether the cumulative circumstances of the relationship between the athlete and the college, or NCAA, reveal an economic reality that is that of an employee-employer. You know, the NCAA had hoped to have that case dismissed, but it's going to go to a trial judge for fact finding. Now, look, that might be kind of confusing. They're going to try to decide, should college athletes be deemed employees of the institution? Now, I know we talk a lot about this on the Dose, but this is what is best for kids, right? I mean, this isn't a situation where, say, football and basketball teams get to go make money and earn scholarships, and those other sports basically just, completely go away. And those kids in those sports lose their opportunity to compete. Oh, and also to get that free education. Because if that happened, that would really be too bad. I mean, all the athletes that are pushing for this literally are going to put themselves into extinction unless they are one of the big dogs. But hey, it's cool, right? The major sports will get all the money, and we know they never get anything, so finally they get something good. Just remember all those other kids, they ain't getting nothing, and they're about to probably go completely extinct. Hey, today on the show, we are actually going to be doing something a little bit different than we have ever done on the Dose. Here at the Dose, we kind of pride ourselves on knowing some sports history and being in touch with that sports history. We can learn from our past when we look at the present and at the future, but I know that sports and athletics, a lot of times, they belong to the youth, and I get it. The problem is, of course, that youth doesn't always know their sports history. And as a result, they look at the current sports landscape and they think, well, this is the greatest thing that I have ever seen. And anything that happened before this is completely irrelevant. So this is the greatest thing that has ever happened ever. I understand it. I just don't always see it the same way. You see, I think we do a great disservice to the athletes that came in previous eras. And I think it actually serves everyone better to know some history that came before when you start talking about the greatest of all time. Plus, we will have a Daly Dose Top 5 for you today. It is officially the driest time of the sports year, but never fear, because as our Daly Dose Top 5 will show you today, good things are coming. But first, like I said, there is nothing new under the sun. Have you seen Hollywood? They can't come up with an original script ever. Music, it's all been done. Every song is a remake or a remix. Hey, you want to go read a book? Every story's the same. A person either goes on a journey or a stranger comes to town. Go look at pretty much anything and that is the story. My point is, things have all been done before. Well, sports are actually not that different. Just like movies, just like music, just like books or operas or whatever, they might get slicker, they might look a little better, but the story at the very heart of it is still the exact same. Now, I do think some sports have a really difficult time getting out from under previous shadows. So, for instance, in golf, you had Jack Nicklaus, and then you had Tiger Woods. And everyone is basically measured next to those two, and that shadow is so huge that even if you're really, really good, you're held to this impossible standard. And I think in some ways that situation is very similar with Michael Jordan and the sport of basketball. You can say LeBron is better. You can say LeBron is right there with MJ. But that shadow is so large. I mean, remember, LeBron has Michael on his shoes. That is a massive shadow. Now, I have always said that comparing eras is completely difficult and basically impossible. Because you almost need to rank them within their era and keep them there. Let me explain what I mean. Comparing, say, heavyweight fighters, like a Joe Louis, to a modern-day Tyson Fury, it's really tough. Joe Louis was 6'2". He weighed in at 214 pounds. Tyson Fury is 6'9" and walks around at like 265. That seems unfair to me. And yet, Joe Louis went 66-3, and he fought multiple champions, while Fury is 34-2 and hasn't really fought that great of opponents. If you make Fury go back in time to the 30s and the 40s and train by whatever Joe Louis was doing, boxing a kangaroo or whatever, and then you have to fight title defenses once a month. That's what Joe did. Yeah, Tyson Fury is going to literally die. Meanwhile, if you allow the Brown Bomber to come to the current day and train with modern methods and use modern nutrition and fight just 2 fights a year, he's probably going to be pretty good. So comparing eras is really, really difficult. So instead of being silly and trying to compare eras, what if we did something different today on the Dose? What if we just enjoy the comparison instead of arguing about who's better? What if we look at those stars from today and then look back at the stars that they compare favorably to? We're not saying either one of them is better than the other. We can't possibly tell. We are saying that these modern day athletes probably owe their past counterparts a note of thanks. Because without those previous guys, these ones are never here. Let's start off in basketball. And like I said, the shadow that Michael Jordan casts is insane. I understand Bill Russell won more titles. But Michael did it in the modern era, when the sport was actually its biggest and everyone was watching it. It was being watched by millions on TV and in person. Then, MJ blew the athletic wear world up with his Nike partnership. Then he won 6 titles. That never even went to a Game 7 in the finals, I might add. And he did it while leading the league in scoring and being named Defensive Player of the Year. That is pretty sacred ground, sorry. So when I hear people comparing LeBron James to Michael Jordan, it isn't just that it doesn't hold up in terms of accomplishments, which I don't think it does, but it's also the fact that LeBron isn't that sort of player. Sorry, but Kobe Bryant is the closest thing to Michael that I've ever seen. Now, I'll be honest. Was it a little bit creepy how closely Kobe tried to mimic Michael? Yeah, it was. But he was the closest comparable that I've ever seen in my lifetime. If you want to compare LeBron James to someone, it is far more accurate to me to compare him to Wilt Chamberlain. Think about it. Wilt was bigger, stronger, and faster than his competition. Slow as LeBron. Chamberlain completely dominated his opponents physically, as does LeBron. Wilt could score at will. He could rebound at will. He even led the league in assists when he put his mind to it. LeBron could do the same thing. Now, LeBron James has won more than Wilt did, but those two are way more comparable to me than LeBron could ever be with Michael. That's comparing apples and oranges, and I don't think it always makes that much sense. You know, I'm always fascinated by the young sports fans today when they say how, you know, those athletes from previous eras, they just couldn't compete today. They're just not athletic enough. I mean, we even heard, who was it, JJ Redick, saying today's athletes would just smoke them. Those guys were plumbers. It's kind of interesting. Especially when I look at guys today, like, say, Dallas Mavericks star Luka Doncic. Because Luka is slow, but very strong. He's kind of plodding and intentional, and he knows how to use his body. Oh, and by the way, Luka averaged 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per game this past season. So you can sit there and tell me that Larry Bird couldn't play today, but I've got Luka to prove that he could. Do you really want to say, well, Larry Bird didn't play against athletic guys? I mean, Bird faced Dr. J, James Worthy, Dominique Wilkins, and he was still dominating. Bird was averaging 25, 10, and 7. Those numbers kind of sound familiar, don't they? And I know that people want to hammer the way he plays his, slow basketball, but Denver Nuggets star Nikola Jokic, he's got a few guys you can compare his game to. And I'm going to say one, and you're going to say, okay, fine. But then I'm going to say another, and you're going to go, oh, wait a second. Because Nikola Jokic actually reminds me a little bit of Russian big man Arvydas Sabonis in terms of his passing and his vision. Here's the problem with the Sabonis comparison. By the time we got to see Sabonis come play in the NBA, by the time he was allowed out of his country, he was an old man. So I'm going to give you another player that Nikola Jokic kind of reminds me of. And when you hear it, you're going to go, Clint, you're crazy. But there are aspects to Jokic's game that kind of remind me of Magic Johnson. He sees everything. Hey, Magic wasn't fast. He wasn't this great athlete. He was big. He was playing the point at 6'9", and he could go to the paint and abuse you. He could find the open man, and eventually he opened enough of a long-range shot to keep you honest and beat you from deep. Nikola Jokic has a little bit of magic. He has a little bit of Bird. And he has a lot of Arvydas Sabonis to his game. You know, the Boston Celtics won the NBA title this year with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And, you know, Kristaps Porzingis really helped when he was healthy. And, you know, when Porzingis came out, they called him a unicorn. He's such a talent. He can do so many things. It's just that he can't ever seem to stay healthy. And it kind of reminds me of someone from the modern day like Danilo Gallinari, or, yes, someone like Bill Walton. Bill Walton was a much better player than people remember, but again, he couldn't stay healthy. You know, it isn't hard to compare a defensive-minded guy today like Draymond Green to a Dennis Rodman or a Ben Wallace. It is easy to see how the Knicks' Jalen Brunson could remind us a little of another tough New York point guard by the name of Mark Jackson. And I actually think that Damian Lillard reminds me just a little bit of another undersized guard that could score at will. I mean, Damian Lillard has a little bit of Allen Iverson to him, doesn't he? Okay. But we know that in America, it is football that moves the needle in the world of sports. We love our NFL football, and we love it so much that we will just watch them pick teams. We don't have to even watch games. We love the NFL. And in the NFL, again, it is so easy to just anoint certain players as the best ever. No one else is close. But again, could these modern day players go back in time and play in those previous eras? Could these modern day quarterbacks play when you could hit them in their head and in their knees and in their face and hit them late and too bad? Could they play when you beat up their receivers? All the way down the field, from the line of scrimmage down, you could hit those receivers however you wanted. See, I'm not so sure. But again, instead of having that debate, I just want to look at some of those current day players in the NFL and see who I would compare them with from those past eras. Now, I know that everyone in sports right now wants to anoint Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes as the best ever. Hey, is he better than Tom Brady? We're going to see. Is he already the GOAT? Okay, first, Brady is the most decorated, no question. I'm not sure that Tom Brady could have played in that previous era. Remember, we have the dives at the knees rule because of Tom. But here's the thing. Mahomes, I guess, reminds me a little bit of Brady, but he also reminds me a little bit more of like a Joe Montana. Because Mahomes isn't a scrambler. He runs to evade pressure. He moves. He has quick feet, but he's not a runner. He's not like this really super athletic guy. He keeps plays alive, and he looks to beat you downfield. Of course, Mahomes did get crushed in a Super Bowl. Joe Montana never did that, but never mind. Okay, I have another comparison, and people might not like it, but the more this guy's career goes on, it kind of reminds me of a different player than people might be thinking of. Because New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is undoubtedly one of the most gifted players I've ever seen. He can run. He can throw the ball 70 yards with a flick of his wrist. And you might even stop and think about, maybe he's like a Tom Brady or maybe he's like a Dan Marino. However, he also doesn't win maybe quite as much as we feel like he should. And he also has a lot of off-the-field weirdness going on. And then recently, he's been banged up a lot. He's been injured a lot. And so instead of looking at like a Marino or someone like that, I'm actually reminded of another guy. And it's a guy that ended up kind of going off the rails in the latter part of his career. But in his prime, when Jim McMahon was playing with the Chicago Bears, Duke could throw lasers. he was kind of nutty, and he was never afraid to speak his mind, and that got him in a lot of trouble. He ended up being banged up a lot. He was way more injured than Aaron Rodgers has ever been. But there are some weird similarities there. Might not be the first name you'd think of, but there are some aspects to Jim McMahon that I'm like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. Now, modern day football fans, they will look at Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry, and you're like, hey, we have never seen anything like that guy. That combination of power and speed, it's never happened before. Unless you want to count like Earl Campbell or someone like that. And then, oh yeah, it has happened before. We've actually seen that already before. Derrick Henry reminds me exactly of Earl Campbell. And remember, as Earl went on in his career, he began to wear down. And I know today's NFL fans believe that Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill is a once-in-a-lifetime player. Except that I already saw him play when he was Raiders speedster Cliff Branch. And he could completely take a game over with his insane playmaking. But it isn't anything new. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans, he's so big, and he still has the speed to beat you deep. I mean, he basically plays football almost like a basketball player. He's so big and strong. We have never seen a player like that in the NFL at wide receiver. Unless you remember 6'8" Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Harold Carmichael, who could just go up and get every 50-50 ball that was thrown in his direction. You know, this year, the Buffalo Bills are hoping that quarterback Josh Allen is going to end up finally living up to his athletic potential and maybe lead them to winning something big. And because of Allen's size and strength and kind of his area that he grew up, a lot of people compare him to John Elway. I understand the comparison. And yet, with some of his decision making, sometimes Josh Allen reminds me of another guy that took a lot of chances. And, I mean, they called him the gunslinger. And he was really good sometimes, and other times he made choices that didn't turn out so well. But can't you see a little bit of Brett Favre in Josh Allen? The biggest difference to me is that Josh Allen never played for an offensive mind like a Mike Holmgren. But other than that, he kind of reminds me more of Favre than he does of Elway. And, you know, we have had a crush of really talented tight ends in the modern era. I mean, guys like Shannon Sharp, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and they are an absolute matchup nightmare. They're too fast to guard with a linebacker. They're too strong for a defensive back. These guys are terrorizing the league, and they're racking up stats like we've never seen before. Now, you could go back and say they are the product of previous tight ends like a Kellen Winslow or even Dave Casper, or you could go back a little further and say they're actually the product of previous guys like Raymond Chandler and John Mackey. Because these modern day tight ends, they owe their career to those players. Finally, we reach a quarterback that is insanely talented, but thus far at least, he's been accused of not being able to win the big one. And that, of course, is Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. With his wide receiver speed, his ability to throw, it sure seems like it would be a matter of time before he does win something big, doesn't it? But I mean, have we ever seen this combo of a ball-carrying quarterback that could also legitimately be a passer downfield? Well, obviously, we can go to Randall Cunningham or Michael Vick or even Cordell Stewart. They were super athletic and could hurt you in so many ways. But, you know, I would even go back further to another guy that, again, struggled to win the big one, and that was Minnesota's Fran Tarkenton. He could destroy you with his legs. But also, remember when, you know, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, remember when they were breaking all those all-time NFL records? Whose records were they breaking? Well, a lot of times, those records belong to Fran Tarkenton, a guy that never gets the credit that he truly deserves. Okay, coming back. We are officially in the dog days of summer, and you know it is bad when I'm watching NASCAR and Copa soccer over the weekend, which is embarrassingly exactly what I did. But Our Daily Dose Top 5 today is going to point out brighter days, they're coming, and they're coming quickly. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get to our Daily Dose Top 5. Every single year, I struggle with this time of year. Basketball and hockey are over. Football hasn't started yet. Baseball, they're playing, but the games don't really matter that much. And while we try to stay busy and be outside, we're just kind of hurting for stuff to watch in the world of sports right now. And there are not many options. I mean, yes, I can go watch the latest Hard Knock shows or the Receiver show that's on Netflix. It's not bad. But I want to watch some real, live sports. Well, never fear, because good things are coming. Today, our Daily Dose Top 5 is counting down 5 things that are coming for sports fans, and they are coming fast. We start off at number 5. And I know this isn't much, but do you realize that NFL training camps are opening already this week? And I mean real openings. Rookies began to show up last week across the league, and this week, veterans are arriving as well. The Houston Texans veterans arrived today. The Chicago Bears begin on Friday, so do the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, do training camps opening actually give us anything to really watch? Not really, unless you're actually going to go attend them in person, but we will start getting NFL news every single day. Now, a lot of it won't be good. I won't lie. You'll have a lot of injuries. You'll have a lot of in-practice fights and stuff like that, but we will start getting some news from the NFL. Hey, the season is coming, and NFL training camps come in today at number 5. We reached number 4. And this one actually is a big one, because after the mess that was the 2020 COVID Olympics in Tokyo, beginning next Friday, we will have the 2024 Summer Olympics from Paris, France. Track and field, swimming, gymnastics, volleyball, skateboarding. Hey, we don't care 1 ounce about any of these sports most of the time. Oh, but come Summer Olympics, we all become experts. I know everything there is about those sports when it comes Summer Olympic time. Hey, whether it is the human interest stories, the local flavor, the pretense that any of this is actually amateur sports, it really is a potpourri, and I'm telling you, I'm here for it. Plus, we do have basketball. We will have soccer. We will have boxing. The Olympic Games will be a welcome oasis from this boring summer of sports, and I can't wait for it. The Summer Olympics will run from Friday, July 26th to August 11th. That's not bad. Comes in today on our list at number 4. So we arrive at number 3. And where else can we go but to the most popular sport in this country? And of course, that is the NFL. Well, NFL preseason games are actually less than 2 weeks away. Yeah. Do you realize that the NFL Hall of Fame preseason game between the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears will be played on August 1st? Today's what, the 17th of July? Yeah, that's less than 2 weeks away. Oh, I know. NFL preseason is the same every year. We can't wait for the games to start, and then these awful scrimmages begin, and we watch it for about 5 minutes, and we go, you know what? I'll just wait for the regular season. Never mind. But still, NFL football is here in less than 2 weeks. Get ready, folks. It is coming. The NFL preseason comes in today on our list at number 3. We reach number 2 on our list of sporting events that are coming to put an end to this boredom of summer. And this one is actually sneaking up on us very fast. Do you realize we are just over a month away from college football? Real live college football games. On Saturday, August 24th, we have Florida State going to Georgia Tech in a week, 0 game. Oh, then the very next weekend, we get a full slate of games. We get Clemson at Georgia, Penn State at West Virginia, Notre Dame at Texas A&M, and USC at LSU. Are you kidding me? College football is coming fast, and I'm not just talking about the video game. No. I'm talking about real, live games. The college football season comes in today on our list at number 2. So we reached number 1 on our list of upcoming sporting events that are going to make us forget these boring dog days of summer. And yes, we'll finish with the big dog. Because today, July 17th, we are just 50 days from real live NFL football beginning. Thursday, September 5th, we get our NFL opener between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes in a rematch of that AFC title game. That really wasn't that good of a game. But you never know what will happen on opening night. Hey, I realize we are in a slow time of the year sports-wise. But I'm telling you, things are about to take off in a big way. And it will really get rolling next week. Of course, here at The Dose, we will get you ready for all these events that are coming as only we can. So make sure that you do keep tuning in. Speaking of which, next week on The Dose, we're actually going to take a quick look at the Major League Baseball season at the midway point. Which teams are overachieving? Who is underachieving? We will take a look, and we will take a brief look at what we might expect in those 2024 Olympics. There are some big things coming in the world of sports, and like we talked about on the Daly Dose Top 5 today, they are coming quickly. So be sure to tune in next week, and be sure that you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daly Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. Thank you for stopping by DailyDoseSports.com, where we have new things going up every week. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles. We absolutely love it when you do that. I have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Oh yeah, like a pony. I'm a pony. I'm a pony. Don't you feel like a pony? Don't you feel like a pony when you